next desirable practices in the waste minimization hierarchy are reuse and recycle of the waste in the same or a different process, with or without any further modification. For example, it's highly desirable to use an end product of a process in the form of a waste as a raw material for another process. This practice not only eliminates the waste, but also saves resources. The next level of desirable practice in the waste minimization hierarchy is treatment, to reduce the amount of waste before final disposal. For obvious reasons, the least desirable practice is disposal of the waste without any treatment. Pollution prevention and minimization efforts provide many benefits for the organizations involved. The economic benefits result from 1. The reduced treatment and disposal cost of the waste. 2. The reduced storage and handling cost of the waste. 3. The increased production capability. 4. Improved product quality. And 5. The income from the sale, reuse, and recycle of the waste. In addition to the economic benefits, pollution prevention and minimization efforts help the organization in complying with regulations and reduce the future liabilities for the waste that is not disposed into the environment. Finally, the organization will experience improved public relations and goodwill because of its pollution prevention efforts. In the current environment of increasing globalization, a set of voluntary international standards were developed by the International Organization for Standardization, it's ISO, to establish a common worldwide approach to management systems that will lead to the protection of the Earth's environment while spurring international trade and commerce. These standards are referred to as ISO 14000. The ISO 14000 series include Environmental Management Systems, EMS, standards, referred to as ISO 14001. The ISO 14001 standards are expected to eventually replace the National Environmental Management System standards in many countries. For example, the working groups of the European Committee for Standardization have recommended the European Union accept the ISO 14001 standards as the implementing standard. The US EPA is currently running a series of trial programs to assess the applicability of ISO 14001. It is clear from this presentation that the industrial sector can no longer rely solely on market demand and the profitability to succeed. Today, the environmental impact of the industrial activities is a major variable in the equation of success. The cost of environmental impact is a cost that needs to be internalized by every organization, whether in the educational, business, or government sectors. And every effort should be made to write off this additional cost in the form of benefits to the society in general. And finally, globalization is expected to lead to better management of the environmental quality and of the Earth's resources through collaborative international efforts. Better management translates into improved productivity and increased profits, with the added benefit of a cleaner Earth for generations to come. Thank you.
We will now continue with the second question and answer session. The first question is by fax. It is from the Pontificia Universidad Católica Madre y Maestra. It's in Santiago, in the República Dominicana, the Dominican Republic. And the question is this: are potential damages by PFCP being quantified? Do you want to address that?
I assume by PFCP they are referring to, the person is referring to beauty products and pharmaceuticals and all the synthetic organics, what we usually refer to as also endocrine disrupting chemicals. And those are the type of chemicals we're been recently discovering about their existence in our source waters, and especially in Europe, where certain streams, rivers are used heavily as both for disposal and also water resources. That's where we see concentrated forms of those chemicals. And the question of quantification, we are researching those chemicals and the health effects and the ecological effects of those chemicals, and we are at the research level. In terms of what chemical at what concentration is causing what kind of effect, that cause and effect relation in many of those chemicals isn't clear at this point.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mexico. It's from the Centro Universitario de Tijuana. It's in the city of Tijuana, in the state of Baja California, in Mexico.
Our question is, what environmental cares do we have to have as far as frontier border cities, for instance, traffic-wise, Tijuana and San Diego? What kind of special attention should be given?
Professor, you want to talk about that? You live on the border and teach there.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm very happy to be a part of the Citizens Forum for the United States Boundary and Water Commission. Mm-hmm. So this definitely is one area that is extremely important among the San Diego-Tijuana border, as well as Texas and all along our borders and areas. One of the very important things, if we talk in terms of our collaborations, we need to collaborate more with the public health focus. There are some teams that are currently talking and making plans, but we need to have more action, more a commitment of resources from, in the Mexico side, the commitment of resources from Mexico City on the federal level to this area, and on the United States side, likewise, commitment of resources, as well as the facilitation of the collaboration. We need to, first of all, focus on tuberculosis. Epidemic of tuberculosis on our border. HIV, blinding ourselves to the problem of HIV and the leading up to AIDS on the border community is very, very foolish. We need to deal with this, and we need to do it quickly because our youth are being infected. We need to work together in teamwork on the traffic issues. We need to collaborate on our science and our education. I am very happy to be a part of the Vecinos program, in which we have a Baja Studies certificate program at Southwestern College, and we collaborate with CETIS University in Tijuana, as well as UABC Sur in La Paz, and other universities. Technological Institute de Tijuana was our sister school, and we collaborated there in many ways. We need more of these kind of educational partnerships. And one more thing that's extremely important in relation to economics. We need to have more open border collaboration. Economically and otherwise, this is extremely important. to make it assumption that if you have an open border, people will be coming in this direction is a wrong assumption. If you have a proper environment economically, we are going to have more people going to Mexico, to Baja, and to our other neighbors in Canada. These transits will be going for cultural, for ecotourism, for business. We have the San Diego, Tijuana, Japan's collaborations. We have the maquiladoras.
Thank you very much. We've got a call now from the United States. It looks like it's from the Fresno County Health and Human Services System in the city of Fresno in the state of California in the United States. This is probably coming in English, I would guess.
Your question? Is this Health and Human Services, Fresno County? Yes. My question is, how can you train to implement the concept of responsible management of environmental quality?
Could they repeat?
Implement the training of responsible management for environmental quality. Quickly, we have several people waiting. You want to just give a quick answer to this?
Yeah, I can give it a shot. Depending upon where this training is going to be held, for example, if this is a business, if it is an industry, it is probably relatively easier to prepare training programs to respond to emergencies, accidents, workplace safety, workplace health issues, and also being sensitized, the entire I guess staff members to be sensitized about the emissions coming from the industry in the liquid form, in the gas form, and ways to treat those emissions. This is a relatively easy way to do in-house, and many training teams are available if they are properly used.
Our next question is from Mexico. It is from Sade Aguascalientes, SSC. It is in the city of Aguascalientes, in the state of Aguascalientes, in Mexico.
We have two questions. One, is there any legislation, any international legislation that prevents developed countries from sending or to send out all these pollutants to developing countries or toxic waste to other countries? Is there a way that they're prohibited or sanctioned or punished or fined for all these things? Are there any international laws? And then the other question is the chlorination. Is this the best method for disinfecting in the developed world? Is this a good method for disinfection and cleaning up?
Here's our problem. We only have time to answer one of those two questions. We're going to do chlorination. Yes. Can you talk about chlorination? You want to do both at the same time?
Chlorination, if you already have a system in place, I think you should continue with it. If you're going to develop a new treatment plant, treatment system, then you might consider alternatives to new ways like ozonation, because eventually even chlorination units will be converted into new disinfection systems. So I think that is the answer. And about the international regulations, I am not aware of the existence of any international regulation to prevent the waste transportation and waste disposal in another country. But obviously there are national, in many countries, national laws that hopefully will prevent that from happening. I mean, they shouldn't really accept this.
Our next question is from the Dominican Republic. It is from Codatel in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. We have to keep going.
Buenos días. La pregunta
The question is the following. We know that we live in a very technologically oriented age where there are many advances, and one of the most important things that affect degradation or deterioration of ozone layer in our planet is the chlorofluorocarbons. And are there any ways to control, and what measures are being taken to prevent or foresee and reduce their toxic effects on our environment?
She'll take the question. Go ahead.
Yes. The major chemical companies that produce chlorofluorohydrocarbons are now switching to other alternatives. Many of those have already been done. The alternatives are not entirely harmless, but various degrees of magnitude less harmful to the ozone layer. So the answer is yes. There is a lot to be done, but there is also a lot that are already being done.
Our next call is from Cuba. It is from Citmatel in the capital of Havana in Cuba.
Hola, buenos días.
Buenos días. We wanted to ask you, how can we link these topics with what the Earth Summit was discussing about sustainability of the environment in Brazil, the Earth Summit in Brazil?
How do we link
Rio?
How do we link these questions with the Earth Summit in Brazil? About the sustainability of the environment. Either of you want to take a shot at that one?
Yeah, sure. I think the message is the same. In the International Earth Summit, sustainability, the topic of sustainability is the same as responsible management of environmental quality, which is really the subject of our presentation, our videotape seminar here. And so I think a linkage is already there. We are talking about the same issues.
I'd like to add one thing.
Quickly.
Pertaining to both this and the previous question. In actuality, the ordinances, the laws are already in place within your own country. It's just a matter of having them enforced.
Our next question is from Mexico. It is from the Cervecería Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma S.A.R.C.V. It is in the city of Monterrey in the state of Nuevo León in Mexico.
Good morning. I have a quick question. I just have a doubt here. You talked about old buildings that could be, or contaminated buildings, infected buildings that have no ventilation or very little ventilation. How dangerous is having to work in a building where there is not enough or good ventilation, both modern and old buildings, because the use of central air conditioning systems recycle all the germs and all the air that is within then there is no renewal of air. So if there is a person who is sick or is ill and comes to work, those viruses and bacteria are recycled through the system, through the ventilation system and ducts. And of course, I suppose that the filters are not safe, or maybe they're neglected, and so the microorganisms are being recycled and expanded and compounded. I don't know what ordinances or what you could prescribe for that. You have about
15 seconds. Go ahead.
That's actually a very proper question. Most of the microorganisms, fortunately, are held trapped in the filters. Because they are particulates, they are larger. The problem is primarily more in the chemical area, like formaldehyde. Those are molecules, and the filters cannot really work with molecules. In hospital environment, there are additional measures taken, but not in regular buildings, unfortunately.
Thank you for your excellent questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk more, but we have run out of time. We hope that you have enjoyed participating once again in this exciting, multilingual, multinational program. We invite you to participate in the 4th video conference of this year's Excellence with a Global Flair series, entitled Productive Leadership, an Essential Ingredient for Excellence and Consumer Focused Performance, which will air on May 2nd, 2002. For additional information on this video conference series, please consult your participant's manual, where you will find the dates and specific topics for each program. You may also visit our website at itc-group.org. On behalf of all of us at the International Training Center, I thank you for your enthusiastic participation and interest in today's program. Thanks, and see you again soon.